Hey guys, All the Way with Alloway here. I'm at the Disney Studios about to talk to director John Lee Hancock and cinematographer John Schwartzman of the film Saving Mr. Banks. And you guys shot on film, and I know anyone who shoots on film is so ready to preach it. So what were the benefits of working not digitally on this?
What I would say is there's an economy to shooting on film, which is it just doesn't require as much infrastructure. And I think it also, no one would argue that it doesn't yield a better looking image. That's never been the argument.
Right.
The argument would be that digital is cheaper, or it can shoot in lower light, which is true. Mm-hmm. But for us, it really came down to Allison Owen, our producer, because we didn't have a big budget on this movie, and we were sort of like, well, should we go digital? Should we go film? We knew we wanted to go film, but we also had to service the movie, which means if it meant that we could have more money to build sets if we shot digitally, that would be something we would have entertained. And Allison, our producer, said, what are you talking about? It's a movie about Mary Poppins. You have to shoot it on film.
Yeah. Having
said that, I think you can move more quickly on film, and I think it's just a better looking image. Mm-hmm. And there's a sort of the way a crew works with a film camera, that's been long established. So there is a hierarchy to the way things go that just sort of falls right in.
Well, and I think it's wonderful because this film vacillates between 1961 LA and 1906 Australia. So curious to talk to both of you guys how you married those two so seamlessly.
The first thing you want to look at is from a script standpoint is thematically and emotionally, where are we when we're making the handoff with the baton? And then you go to the next, the visual, both the palette and the colors and the temperature, and then the shots themselves. And so a lot of the times I said, I don't want to just have it be a whole movie full of dissolves. I would love to have straight cuts as often as possible and for it not to be jarring. Mm-hmm. So I kind of embraced the idea, had the idea of, thanks to John Ford, of course, of framing devices and using those and always putting Genty out as often as possible outside looking through a window at her father. Because there's something about just putting a frame, whether it's a window or a door around someone, that seems idealized and storybook to me. Mm-hmm. And so these are not necessarily, we come to find in the movie, reliable flashbacks, if you will, memory flashes. At some point they start, 1961 intrudes on 1906 to the point that Sherman Brothers lyrics are coming out of Travers Goff's mouth. Mm-hmm. So that tells you that. And so then that gives you the jump off point for making all these very stylized and idealized in a weird way, like from a child's viewpoint.
Well, the other thing is, when you're doing a period movie, one of the things I really like about doing period pictures, it requires you to be very specific. You can't go over here because that's not 1961. So you own everything in the frame. This was not a movie about visual effects. Oh, we can just shoot it, we'll fix it later. No, we were everything. Daniel's costumes, Michael's paint colors, our frames, they were very specific. It wasn't like, oh, that was a great take, but he walked by the window and I see the hospital. Oh, don't worry about it. It's a contemporary movie. If this were a contemporary movie, we wouldn't care about the cars parked across the street. Right. Everything within that frame we had to specify. And we were very particular. Mm-hmm. And I think that when you do that, you really, you have such a control over the movie. And it's a beautiful way to work. Yes, it makes it less spontaneous to some degree, but not really, Because there's really nothing spontaneous about a movie anyway. Mm-hmm. You've got a camera, you've got a crew, you've got track. I mean, making a movie is about being able to do it over and over again. And
also, we had, as a template, our script was so good and so specific, and our actors are so good and so specific.
But you also got to shoot at Disneyland and at the Chinese Theater. So what was that like for you guys, these iconic places?
Well, I mean, Disneyland was spectacular, obviously, and they do such a great job of the way it looks. And again, they replaced all the artwork back to the original period artwork.
How special.
But we did shoot it in a way that did not reveal the modern parts of it, right? We embraced it. I think we shot it in a beautiful way. It really captures kind of the epic scale of that Disney entrance with him standing there with the great sort of flower topiary garden. But, you know, again, these were not, we didn't just say, hey, let's put the camera over here. They were there was specific.
How
you know?
many trips down in vans? Many.
Many trips
Because we
in
would
vans.
literally, to the point of John and I saying, okay, the camera's going to go here, put a piece of tape there, it's a 40 millimeter lens, and move from here to here, and by 9:17 we've got to be at
Right.
the carousel.
Correct.
Wow.
So
Not
it was
very precision.
It was done like that, which also they admired because they were trying to, they never closed the park, but they sort of moved people around us. So as long as we stayed sort of on our, you know, on our schedule, it kept everybody at the park happy. And then the best thing about the Chinese theater was we had archival pictures of the actual premiere. So all we did was recreate really what was there. So when you see the car pull up and there's all these sort of motion picture lights on painter scaffolding in the background, that's really what they did. In those days when they would film the press stuff, they would film it on a 35 millimeter motion picture camera, and the film was not fast. It's not like today when you can pop out with a 5D. So they had to light it. They had to light it like it was a film event.
Right.
So I just took what they had and just did exactly the same thing.
You had so much access to the archival, you know, research, and you guys did that for so long. And I know that she was saying Tom Hanks and Emma Thompson, you guys had a really collaborative relationship. So working with actors like that, what's something that they taught you or something that you took away?
For me, you relearn stuff every movie you do, because I don't do them back to back, and so you start again and you kind of relearn and every movie is different about what's the best way to direct this movie, if you will. And the process with actors that are as fine as they are, and our entire cast, everybody's
Incredible.
magnificent, and they all know what they're doing. So it's best to not over-direct it. You know, it's best, yes, you're going to block, and we're doing it a traditional way, so we're going to do some setup blocking, and we're going to figure out how we're going to light and shoot this. We'll do that in pretty short order with a lot of latitude for happy mistakes and things like that, and then just letting them go, and then come in and instead of, I think one of the biggest misconceptions people have about directors is that they've got, you know, a megaphone and they're bossing everybody around, and I think one day, some are, yeah. One day on the set, somebody came and they'd been there, they were a guest of someone, and they'd been there probably 3 hours, and I was there, and they were 15 feet away from me or whatever, and I overheard them say, "What's he do?"
Right.
And I thought that was the greatest compliment of all.
Right.
That
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, no, it's not about me, it's about that.
I mean, Tom Hanks had the greatest line. We asked him, I was doing a shot where he's sitting next to Jason, and I wanted him to turn more profile. And he said, oh, this is one of those moments where what feels weird in real life looks real in movie life. And I thought, I'm going to remember that line for every...
real and fake life, fake and real life,
right.
or, whatever, yeah.
And I was like, because you don't I deal with a lot of very young actors who don't understand really that it's a dance, that you have to work,
Yes.
that the camera is your friend, not your enemy.
It's sort of a psychological exploration of two artists working together, and you see Disney start to actually win when he goes, wait, I think I need to understand this woman that I'm trying to win over first. So for you guys, have you experienced that working on film, where once you started to understand the partnership, that you saw it come to fruition?
Well, for me, I think that it has to be, the older I get, I'm more fascinated by work product. If I find a box of a director or a cinematographer or something and see their notes, that fascinates me. And I can appreciate the end product, but it's about the process. And I know that sounds very zen, but it's become more and more for me that way. Yes, you want to make a great movie that you're proud of. You also want it to be an amazing experience, because life is too short, and it's a year and a half. For me, it's a year and a half of my life, and you're waking up at 4 a.m. And you want to, and this is a movie about process. It's a movie about the creative process, so you want to be involved. So I feel like in some ways we were involving characters in the movie as well.
Well, and speaking of that, we do see the process in this film. So you're really out to deconstruct the myth of Mary Poppins. And you've done so with Snow White and the Huntsman and with the Alamo. I'm from Texas, so I love that movie. But why do audiences need to look behind the curtain?
I don't know that they need to, but I think it's really enjoyable. We all want to know. The thing is, to me, we all want to look behind the curtain. If somebody tells you there's something behind the curtain, what's your instinct going to be? Open the damn curtain.
Yeah.
So I think what's as enjoyable as this. I mean, I used to know when I read the script and found out, about the tragic origin story, I was fascinated. And the fact that Kelly kind of put it together almost as a mystery, a detective mystery, And the fact that Walt, who was an artist who became a mogul, has to go back, revert back to being an artist and to think back on Mickey Mouse and his own childhood to kind of solve the problem was great.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank
Oh,
you.
you're very welcome.